Each of the sections in the writing review portion of this site have been giving you writing tips. Next, I'd like to take some time to give you specific ideas for approaching the writing section before the essay, while writing, and afterwards. All right, let's talk about some of those writing tips that you can do before you even take the test, during the test, and then how to make sure that we're checking what we've done correctly. First of all, practice writing. You need to write different types of things. Write letters. Be careful on the prompts. There might be a prompt that does state that you need to write a letter in support of one of the two topics. If that's the case, make sure you start with the salutation, greeting, all right, and have a closing there, because they're going to be checking that. That's part of writing skill. So write letters. Start writing a blog. If you have a month or two before you take that writing test, just get in the habit of writing a bit each day. Practice essays. Take a look at some of the practice writing prompts. Figure out your pacing that way by practicing from those essays. And practice pacing all 3 steps at a time. Practice pre-writing. You don't have to write the whole essay. Practice pre-writing, time yourself, know you want to give yourself a set number of minutes, 2, 3. Practice writing from there. You can pick it up the next day. What can you do in 15 minutes? And then certainly take those essays that you've written in the past, go back and check them over and practice looking for errors. Another tip that's really going to be helpful is getting feedback. Review a practice essay with a helpful teacher. If there's someone out there, your language arts teacher, who will take a look at essay that you write and say, hey, I'm practicing for the ACT. I found this practice prompt. I did this in 30 minutes. Would you go over it with me? Let me know what you think. Are my points well supported? Is the grammar going to hold up? Post it to a forum. There's all kinds of places that you can post essays and people can give you feedback on. Take a look online. Use the Facebook site that we have with QualityACTPrep.com. Go ahead and ask questions. You can post things there and we'll get back to you, or someone else, another student who's on there, can also look at your work. Share your material. Share what's good and what's bad and learn from it. Don't take it personally. So you have to learn your weaknesses and try and fix them. And listen to the feedback that people are giving you. So if you happen to get feedback in 2 different directions, one says something very good and one says the same thing is poor, let's go ahead and find some other people to talk to and figure out where it really lies. But do listen to it. Take it to heart that these are people just trying to help you out, not give you a hard time. Also, before the test day, evaluate other essays. Look at what's good, bad, and ugly in what you see. Take a look at newspaper articles. They're pretty easy to pick apart. A number of them are written at about the 4th grade level. Read the articles. Boy, this isn't supported well, or they left this without any kind of real example. Pick them apart. Find grammar mistakes. Become an editor in whatever you happen to be reading. So read actively, look for mistakes, and it's going to make it that much easier when you're writing because you have those things in mind. And notice also the best supports and analogies that other writers have used. You'll find that people use the same types of examples, whether it be a universal topic, but look for the best ones. See how they develop it, right? So if they weave an analogy from the beginning and in the middle and an end, look at different writing styles. Find what's closest to yours in practice so that it comes natural. Also, it's a good idea to prepare some general common knowledge with the mindset that you might use that on the writing test. Have some go-to subjects, right? These are subjects that can be used in analogies. Science, politics, war, literature. Those are very common ones. Have a little bit of a background, a little bit of an understanding beforehand that you might want to use one of those general topics in an analogy. Keep it in mind before you even show up. Think of universal themes and have a few go-to ideas. Universal themes in literature, all right, in history, how history keeps repeating itself, for example. That's something that's pretty easy to weave into an essay. If you go in ahead of time thinking that you're going to do that and have a few go-to ideas, it's not going to take you that long then to figure out how you can put it into the essay. During the test itself, this has been mentioned in a couple of other topics that we've covered, but you need to put together an outline. Outlining is important. Logical order and support is more important than a great introduction and conclusion. That all goes back to pacing, right? Making sure that it makes sense the way you put it and that you've supported everything. Also, keep in mind, Longer essays are typically scored higher. So if you can cut down a little bit of time in the planning because you've prepared that much and you're quick at making outlines, good at getting your details in, go ahead and expand on it. Have a well-formed essay. You won't necessarily wrap it up early, okay? Only leave yourself 2 to 3 minutes to go back and do your proofreading. The rest of the time, it should be on writing. Another tip while you're writing is the various sentence structures. We did talk about sentence structure and grammar in another chapter on this website. Review that. Those are the things I'm talking about there as far as varying sentence structures. Also, choose your vocabulary wisely. A few words that illustrate a range in vocabulary is always a great idea. Having a few words in there that show this is an intellectual individual, not just speaking to a 4th or 5th grade level reader. But you don't want to overdo it because the essay has to be coherent, has to make sense. Now, as you're proofing your essay, you've written it pretty confident with the way it's all together, you like its organization and its structure. What we're going to do next then is reread the prompt again. Make sure that you discussed all the required elements. Last thing you want to happen is something undone. So just glance at that. You should have underlined exactly what they were asking you at the beginning. Look at that statement, and then that should jog your memory. Yeah, I got it covered. Then let's look for spelling and punctuation errors and check for supports. So go back to your outline. You have your outline. You probably made it right on that first page. If you've been writing, you have multiple pages. Look at it again. Match it up to the examples that you had and make sure that you put the right supports with the right examples. And check for varying sentence structures. If you have a couple simple sentences in a row, too many of them in a row, for example, then hey, let's go ahead and turn one of those into a compound complex sentence. Add a phrase in between, get a couple commas, off you go. And look for common errors. So we have a chapter here with common errors that students make on the writing section. That list there, that's where you want to apply it. Taking the time to prepare yourself through practice and using the tips provided on this site will increase your confidence and score on the writing portion of the ACT.